Hello and welcome to Ag PhD. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for joining us today. You know, one of the big fertility pieces going on corn right now is nitrogen. And when we think about nitrogen application, stabilizers have to be part of the discussion. We'll discuss nitrogen stabilizers for corn today.
We also want to talk about some of the in-furrow and seed treatment things you can do to increase your crop's yield and just to protect your crop a little bit better for corn, for soybeans, and for wheat. We'll get to all of that today.
Well, you certainly need to protect your crop from our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how to stop this tough weed later in the show. But first, here's our Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk a little about pesticide safety. This is a big issue all around the world, and we want to make sure you understand a little bit more about why pesticides get used, why they get labeled, and how they are actually safe in many cases.
The place I'd like to start is just with which pesticides are even labeled now. When you look back 20 years ago or even 30 years ago at pesticides that were on the market, many of them have gone away and been replaced by safer options. Now, this is certainly what industry is going for, is trying to find safer things that can do the same job. But there's no question, there's been government intervention here that the government has just told these companies, look, we have to have safer things to use. And many of the products that are being used right now are being developed from things that are found naturally in many fields.
All right, but let's start at the beginning here. Pesticides are incredibly important to agriculture and to every human being on this earth today, because without pesticides, we would not have even close to enough food for our continually growing world. So that is incredibly important. And a lot of people want to talk about, oh, pesticides and their danger and everything else, but I just want you to understand this. When a plant has any stress, it has a bug feeding on it, it has disease, it has a weed that's competing with it for sunlight and for water and for nutrients. When that plant has any stress, what does it do? It produces more natural carcinogens. That is not a good thing. So if a pesticide manufacturer can develop a product that is relatively safe to humans and that gets used properly according to the label, then that allows farmers to produce more food that actually can be safer rather than more dangerous. So I guess that's one of the big things that I wanted to stress today too. And Darren also alluded to, oh, the government's telling companies to develop safer products. That's not exactly how it's working. What's happening is companies are looking at all these different products out there and they get faster EPA approval or just EPA approval period if the product is safer. Because the challenge here is the government can't develop products. The government does not develop pesticides. It's up to different manufacturers around the world to develop pesticides. And basically, once a replacement product comes on that's much safer, then the government says, okay, we got a safer option, we're gonna drop that old, more dangerous product. And that's been one of the greatest things that's happened in agriculture in the last 20, 30 years. There have been a lot of new safer options that have come out, so the government has said, all right, we're going to drop the old options. So as a U.S. farmer, I think this is fantastic. We have better, safer options than we've ever had before.
One of the neat pesticides that's out there right now is in the chemical family of the pyrethroids. When we look at insect control, you may have to control bugs in your kitchen or right around your house, and you think, how am I going to keep those bugs out? Pyrethroids were developed to mimic the activity that a chrysanthemum flower uses to stop insects from competing with it. And when you think about that, if we can use something from nature, reproduce that, and be able to use it on a larger scale, that's a good thing. Now, pyrethroids are used in the dog and cat flea collars that you may have, flea and tick collars. They're used as treatments in many different industries. They're even mixed with paint and applied to houses to keep spiders and other bugs off your house. Pyrethroids are safe to use right around your home, and they're also being used with farmers in their fields to stop bugs.
All right, another product that gets talked about a lot all throughout the world is Roundup. Well, I just want to assure you today that the active ingredient in Roundup is never ever going to kill a human being. It's physically impossible because it works on an enzyme found only in plants. Now, certainly there are other things in Roundup and there are other things in generic glyphosates, but all I'm telling you is the active ingredient in glyphosate works on an enzyme found only in plants. We as human beings, livestock, animals, we don't have that enzyme. It's physically impossible for that to harm us. So there are a lot of different products, and we could just run through an enormous list here today of all these products that, like Darren said, are natural or are actually quite safe to human beings. Nevertheless, as farmers, we want to take all precautions to make sure we're using these things properly and carefully. But I often tell non-farmers, look, there isn't anything we use to spray on our crop that's even half as dangerous as many of the household cleaners you have right below your kitchen sink. And certainly there's nothing as dangerous as the gasoline you pump in your car every day. That stuff is terribly lethal. The stuff we use on the farm certainly is not. So as farmers, we're just trying to be careful, using the right products, using them in the right way, so you have a safe and healthy food and water supply.
If you have a lawn at home, you may need some of these safer pesticides to take out our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?
When you think about it, productivity starts at planting. So it's time to rethink how productive your planter can be. We did with the new Case IH 2000 Series Early Riser Planter. We rethought your row unit so it's tougher, more accurate. We rethought your meter, took the most precise technology, factory installed it. We rethought every inch of the Case IH Early Riser Planter to make it the most productive planter around. And if you think about it, that's exactly what you want.
There are trillions of hardworking microbes right beneath your feet. Today, Monsanto BioAg is harnessing the power of microbes, creating microscopic farmhands that help plants access nutrients, enhance root and shoot growth, and handle stressful conditions throughout the season, protecting and maximizing your yield potential. We're turning 500 trillion microbes into 500 trillion new farmhands, ready for work. Nature, it's powerful technology.
Sometimes, getting the yield you want means you need a whole new game plan. Think about it. When the older, conventional fertilizer you've been using goes head-to-head with tough soil conditions, they can get all tied up before they ever have a chance to score. That's when it's time to regroup. Time to send in the A-Team. Agro-Liquid isn't like other fertilizers. Their nutrient-balanced products stay in the soil in the right formulations in just the right amounts. And because of Agro-Liquid's unique chelation technology, you wind up using less and seeing more in your yields. So you could wind up having one heck of a championship season. Make a smart start with Agro-Liquid. To find the closest nutrient coach near you, visit agroliquid.com.
A farmer's attention to detail is what makes the difference. You take the time for service management because you know how vital it is to your operation. You service your field like everything else because soil sampling makes all the difference and gets the results you want. Download the app Soil Test Pro and start grid sampling today. Keep your farm growing strong. The more you test, the more you know.
The Guardian Air Twin Spray Nozzle from Hypro produces a twin spray pattern with air inducted droplets for superior coverage, even in dense canopies. Be effective and efficient with your spray application this season with the Guardian Air Twin. Hypro, helping you spray better.
Leading the charge in strip tillage for more than a decade, the Soil Warrior brings the future to your farm today.
Each year, Darren and I get a lot of questions about different products that could be used for in-furrow applications, whether it's a biological or a fertilizer. And it's kind of the same thing on seed treatments. Well, what do we do? There are all these products out there. How do we decide? We want to talk through some of those options today.
First of all, safety is our #1 concern when it comes to our seed. When we're putting valuable seed in the ground, we have one shot to get things right. So we want to be doing things that are safe to the seed, doesn't hurt anything, and then also at the same time, we want to be doing something that protects that seed. So let's start with the seed treatment aspect, and we look at fungicides and some of the different combinations that are on the market to protect our seeds and young seedlings from disease.
All right, so to begin with, let's talk about corn, because that's usually something you don't have to treat. The corn we're buying for our farm this coming year actually has 7 different things on it. 7! It's almost unbelievable, because I think about years ago when we used to buy seed that had no treatment on it, we'd have to put the treatment on there. Well, this has 7 treatments on it. It has 4 fungicides, an insecticide, and a couple different types of biological products. So, I mean, we've just come so far in not all that many years. The biological side, I guess, is the one I wanted to talk about, because that's something that not a lot of seed companies offer. We've used a product called Quick Roots. It's beneficial bacteria and fungi, but there are a lot of different biologicals you may want to experiment with on your farm as seed treatments.
In soybeans, we have the same strategy. We want multiple fungicides on that seed from different chemical families. That way we know we're going to do a good job on a variety of different diseases. When we look at Pythium, for example, and Phytophthora and Rhizoctonia, they were big issues in 2016. We don't want to see them affecting our crop in 2017. Now, also the insecticide piece is one that's been under fire with the neonics in different parts of the country and also different parts of the world. Putting them on the seed has been proven safe. A recent Washington State University study has shown as long as we're putting those neonics on the seed and placing them in the ground, they're safe from the impacts to bees and other insects.
All right, so with the soybean side, and with wheat for that matter, you have the choice. You can treat or not treat. If you want to plant completely untreated, uncoated beans or wheat, you can do that. Now, in most cases, we don't think that's a good idea, but what we encourage you to do is take a look at these things and look at them over multi-years and multi-sites. And what I'm getting at here is every farmer that we talk to says, I'd like consistent gains. Well, with seed treatments, you have very inconsistent gains. You might gain a bushel one year, but you might gain 8 bushels the next year. You have to take a look at the average over time. Does it pay over time or does it not? And certainly, if you have wetter and cooler conditions when you plant, a fungicide is more likely to pay. But don't forget, fungicide can protect seed and the seedling and that plant for up to a couple of months. So it's going to last a lot longer than, oh, just when the seed pops out of the ground. Insecticide, same kind of deal. With the biologicals, same thing. So these aren't just seed protectants, they are seedling and young plant protectants.
All right, you may do the same types of things in furrow. One of the treatments that's been used more widely over the past few years has been a fungicide in furrow on corn. Products like Xanthian and Headline have been used, and the gains have been pretty good in many cases. So it's something for you to look at on your farm as well.
Well, a lot of these things are going to pay better in cooler soils. Like Darren mentioned, Xanthian and Headline. We found that when planting in cooler conditions where there's a little bit more disease, we're getting more yield response. When it's going to be warmer, the warmer soil, we just haven't seen as much response. But you never know. I mean, you want to do some testing on your farm to come up with your own data.
You know, with soybeans, Brian, we get asked all the time, is it better to put our inoculant on the seed or in the furrow? The challenge with the in-furrow application, if you're using a liquid seed treatment, is you need to use a much higher rate than you would use if you're putting it on the seed to get the same results. And because it costs enough I don't think it's really worth doing it in many cases. If you're going to do an in-furrow, you're better off with some of the dry peat-based type materials for inoculants on soybeans. That can have some good gains for you on an in-furrow application.
All right, the other big thing is people will ask us all the time, well, which one of these things is better? Look, the big thing is to treat your seed rather than not treat your seed. So I'm just trying to say there are a lot of different brands out there for seed treatments on wheat and on soybeans. You can do your own experiments and figure it out yourself on which brand you think is better, but all we can tell you is treated versus untreated is a big deal. Now, it goes the other way when we talk about putting fertilizer out there. Okay, so let's say that you've got, we've talked to some companies that are putting zinc right on the seed. We worry about that. It's possible that that could be overdone. Even in furrow, if you use the wrong fertilizer at too high a rate, like 1034O, a lot of people talk to me about, oh yeah, 1034O, I like that in furrow. Well, how much are you using? Well, 10 gallons per acre. And I go, oh my goodness, Why? Why are you putting so much on there? That is tremendous risk. That is a crazy amount of salt that you're getting on or near that seed. It's just risky. And the whole thing is, what we try to stress to everybody is, we've got a lot of risk already today in farming. Why add more risk to that?
The big thing is just to watch the salt load that you're putting in furrow. There's a lot of different options that you can do. You can find lower salt fertilizers. You can move stuff over 2x2, for example, and you can certainly lower your rate. When we think about the effect that we need from pop-up, it's a short-term effect. We don't need that to be a season-long thing where there's going to be tons and tons of nutrients right there. We can have a small amount of nutrients, get the seed up. By then, the root system's big enough to find fertilizer elsewhere.
Well, once again, I don't care if it's corn, soybeans, or wheat, there are great seed treatments that can be used. There are great in-furrow products, and it could be a wide range of things, whether it's fungicide, insecticide, some type of biological, lots of different choices out there. We just encourage you, do some experimenting yourself on your farm, get your own data, and look at the average over time, because a one-year study on one field in one situation, that really isn't going to tell you the story.
Well, one other thing you'll have to work on yourself is controlling your weeds, like our Weed of the Week. Can you identify this week's weed?
One of the biggest yield limiting factors on farms is even crop emergence, and only one closing wheel will get your growing season started right. Furrow Cruiser spiked closing wheels from Copperhead Ag are proven to yield better than standard rubber tire and cast iron closing wheels in all conditions. With yield gains that give you a return on investment the first season, there's no reason to run a standard closing system again. Visit copperheadag.com today to get your 2017 growing season started right.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4 inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
In life, when you put the max in, you get the max out. It's no different for your corn, which is why 40 years of effort have gone into proving that Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers do more than just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize nitrogen, so your corn gives you the max in return.
We love the quality, we love the construction. We're looking forward to working with Morton in the future.
They have this down to a science. They know exactly what you want. They know how to make it happen. It's an easy process.
I would definitely recommend Morton. From the first time I met the salesman to the last nail that the crew put in, it has been a positive and professional experience.
I'm so happy I found Morton because they just make the job so easy.
Find the building of your dreams at mortonbuildings.com.
Tired of that old warped poly boom ruining your spray applications? Express Boom from Hypro is a fully assembled stainless steel boom that ensures an even application of chemicals every time. Don't wait another season, upgrade today. Hypro, helping you spray better.
Nitrogen is an incredibly important fertilizer, but as you know, the bad thing is you can lose it. You can lose it to volatilization, to denitrification, or to leaching, so you want to protect the nitrogen you have. We are big believers in nitrogen stabilizers.
Well, it doesn't really matter how you're putting the nitrogen out there, if it's anhydrous, if it's a dry urea, if it's a liquid 28%. Either way, you've got nitrogen and it's at risk. So there are stabilizers for any form of nitrogen that you may put out there. So for example, let's say that you're putting out manure, as we do each fall on our farm. With the manure, Instinct 2 is a great fit. You've got a product that's going to keep that nitrogen in a good form, the ammonia form, longer. And that ammonia form is the important one here because it's a positively charged nutrient. So when you have a positive charge, Soil has a negative charge, and you're much more able to hold that in a stable form longer.
So basically, these nitrogen stabilizers can help prevent the loss when things convert over to nitrate. So you want to take a look at products like Instinct or in-furrow for anhydrous, and there are plenty of other stabilizers out there as well. But the big question we always get from farmers is, well, how much can I push it? How much nitrogen can I really apply? Because I want to apply lots. Can I do that if I put a stabilizer with it? Well, look, if your soil will only hold 50 pounds and you want to put 200 on, that's a lot of risk. And just because you put a stabilizer with it, that's not probably going to make up all that difference. Could you push it maybe a little bit with a stabilizer? Well, yeah, probably. But, you know, the big thing is we just want to hopefully help encourage you to properly manage your nitrogen, because you don't want loss because it affects your pocketbook. And we as a farming community don't want loss because that could be bad for the environment and it could lead to more regulations.
Fortunately, there are no regulations now stopping us from controlling our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop it coming up next.
The Weed of the Week is sponsored by the Enlist Weed Control System from Dow AgroSciences, a new herbicide and trait system that will build on glyphosate.
Farming isn't just in the land, it's in you. Take control of weeds like never before. Enlist builds on the Roundup Ready system, combining proven control of a new 2,4-D and glyphosate in Enlist Duo herbicide. Protect what matters without changing the way you farm. Talk to your seed or crop protection supplier today.
Our weed of the week is white clover.
White clover is kind of a frustrating weed, especially if you've got it in grassland or in a lawn, because you're going to go out and you're going to do something for a herbicide, you're going to burn it back, you're going to think, oh, it's gone now, and then it comes back, and it comes back, and it comes back. The reason why is white clover is a perennial weed. It has a pretty extensive root system, and if you don't use a product that's going to get down into that root system, it's just going to take you some time, multiple years, to wipe it out.
What we suggest most of the time with white clover is using 2,4-D in a lawn situation or even in non-crop areas. You could use dicamba as well in other non-crop areas. But if you're out there with 2,4-D or dicamba, you're going to have to hit it hard many times, probably full labeled rate 3 times a year, or at least twice a year, at least in the early spring and the late fall for a while. And then in addition to that, you could use something like Drive in your lawn. That does a pretty decent job. So if you were to hit it, you know, a couple times a year with 2,4-D, once with Drive, you're in pretty good shape.
I think the big thing there is hit it hard. You need to have a pretty good strong rate. And the reason why is not just because you totally dislike this weed, it's because it has a lot of growing points. It's got that extensive root system. If you want to try to attack all those growing points in one shot, the best way to do it is with the heavy dose. And when you think about the fall applications, they're pretty nice because then you have winter coming on that could help you, but the spring applications are good too. Here's the other key. Put on your herbicide, hit that white clover hard, and then fertilize your lawn, fertilize your pasture. Get that good grass growth coming. It'll choke out the white clover.
Well, that's it for our Weed of the Week, white clover, but stay tuned. Iron Talk is coming up next.
Aerial fungicide and insecticide application means high speed, low volume, and high cost to reach the top of the plant canopy. But 360 Undercover is a low speed, high volume application system that provides precision placement under the crop canopy. You hit the target and get coverage on both the top and underside of leaves. Plus, 360 Undercover mounts to the boom of your self-propelled sprayer so you or your ag retailer can get more value from this important machine. Boost efficacy with 360 Undercover. Learn more at 360yieldcenter.com.
For lower costs, higher production, Mandico Agri leads with versatility unmatched. Twister is the vertical tillage unit for no-till as well as conventional tillage. Avoid costly downtime with Twister's ease of maintenance. Its unique Coulter suspension allows it to follow the contour of the field yet remain forgiving in rocks. Our hydraulically adjustable Coulter angles mean you never leave the cab, making residue management easier, more efficient. Spring or fall, the Mandico Twister is the new leader. Check with your local dealer or visit mandicoagri.com.
Dealers, repair shops, and other ag parts resellers, this message is for you. Looking to save money on your parts purchases? Parts Express can help. We have over 3,000 popular items for tractors and combines priced at a level to save you and your customers money. In this tough ag economy, who wouldn't want to save on parts? Parts Express prides itself with old-fashioned service and an easy-to-do business with environment. Go to parts-exp.com to see our parts offering and become a Parts Express dealer today.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
The AFS Connect Farm Management System from Case IH connects you, and only you, to the information you need most from your equipment, from anywhere, at any time. AFS Connect, only from Case IH.
In today's Iron Talk, we'll discuss how to protect your spray booms and equipment from, well, the products that you're spraying. It's no secret, almost any fertilizer can be corrosive. When you're spraying liquid fertilizer like 1034O or 28% nitrogen, you need to be proactive if you'd like to avoid the expense of replacing your equipment every few years. Today we'll talk about where to begin with the way your equipment is painted. Then we'll discuss how to keep your boom in tip-top shape even when you're spraying every day. Start with a clean, painted spray boom. If you're purchasing a new spray boom, look for booms with a powder coat paint. Powder coat paint is about 10 times more durable than spray-on paints and is resistant to most chemicals. Powder coat paint is also the best for chip protection and holds up well in the sun and heat. In fact, you can even dent equipment without chipping powder coat paint. If you already own a spray-on painted boom, well, look it over closely for bare metal and paint it a couple of days before you start spraying for protection. Wax and polish your equipment at the start of the season for even more protection too. Having a well-polished machine allows you more time to get things cleaned up before the product sets in or begins to corrode your machine. We power wash our spray boom every night when we're applying fertilizer and herbicides because most of the materials are so sticky that if you don't get after it right away, it's tough to clean it up later. So be proactive to prolong your equipment life. Get powder coat paint when available, wax and polish equipment before use each year, and spray it off every night to protect your equipment investment. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now back to the show.
Closed captioning for Ag PhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
On your farm, you need speed and year-round effectiveness in your tillage program. The Quick Till from Norwood Sales allows you to move quickly through your fields, maximizing time and improving yield. Constructed of heavy-duty materials, the Quick Till is ideal for both spring and fall applications, from preparing a healthy seedbed early in the season to breaking up corn residue after harvest. For more information about how a Quick Till can improve fields on your farm, call Norwood Sales today.
That's all the time we have for today's show, but before we go, we want to invite you to tune in to the Ag PhD radio show. You'll find us each weekday on SiriusXM channel 147 at 2 p.m. Central.
Don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics, Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.
Soil is nature's filter to keep contaminants out of our water. As rain falls on soils and seeps down through, the minerals and microbial life in the soil remove and detoxify nutrients as well as inorganic materials. To learn how farmers manage soil and groundwater, visit the Responsible Nutrient Management Foundation at rnmf.org.